Aliens didn't know who'd come. Then the Deathworlders appeared. Research stations floated in peaceful orbits. There had been no great wars, no massive fleets, and no need for heavy defenses. The Cathari and their allied species believed that knowledge and cooperation were enough to survive in the galaxy. They were wrong. Counselor Sale stood inside the main chamber of the Union Council, watching the holographic display with growing fear. Red markers blinked across the outer systems. One by one, border worlds had gone silent. "Confirm again," Sale said quietly. The analyst beside him swallowed. "No signals, no debris fields, no retreat messages. Entire systems have stopped responding." The chamber filled with uneasy sounds. Council members from different species shifted in their seats. Some had scales that darkened with stress. Others had eye stalks pulled tight against their bodies. Fear showed itself in many forms. "They are moving closer," another counselor said. "Every cycle the hostile fleet advances deeper." No one spoke the name of the attackers aloud. It was not superstition, it was dread. They were an unknown force appearing suddenly from deep space. Their ships were sharp and dark, their movements cold and exact. They did not communicate, they did not negotiate. They arrived and then worlds went silent. "We were never built for war," Sale said. "Our fleets are light, our defenses are symbolic." The truth hung heavy in the air. The Cathari Union had focused on trade and learning. Their ships carried cargo, not weapons. Their crews were scientists, not fighters. A long pause followed. Finally, High Speaker Viral made a decision that none of them wanted to face. "Prepare a wide distress signal," Viral said. "Send it to every known frequency, every alliance, every neutral empire." Several counselors reacted at once. "That will expose our weakness," one said. "It may bring predators," another warned. Viral's voice was steady. "If we do nothing, there will be no Union left to protect." The chamber fell silent. The distress signal was prepared with care. It carried maps, data, and a simple message: civilian systems under threat. Request immediate assistance. When it was sent, it spread outward like a ripple across the stars. Then the Union waited. Hours passed, then days. No reply came. One by one, allied governments sent polite refusals or remained silent. Some claimed they were too far away. Others said they could not risk provoking an unknown enemy. A few closed their borders entirely. Fear had reached farther than the hostile fleet ever could. Inside the council chamber, hope slowly faded. "We are alone," someone whispered. Sale did not answer. He stared at the star map, watching another system blink out. Then, on the 7th cycle after the signal was sent, something changed. An alert chimed across the chamber. "Unidentified energy signatures detected," an analyst announced. "Long-range sensors only." "Multiple contacts." Council members leaned forward. "Are they hostile?" Viral asked. "We don't know," the analyst replied. "They are not matching any known design. Engines are powerful but inefficient by our standards. Hull mass readings are extremely high." Sale frowned. "How many?" A pause. Then the analyst spoke carefully. "Enough to be called a fleet." The room grew tense. The new contacts were approaching from a direction marked as sparse space. No major civilizations were recorded there. Only harsh stars, unstable systems, and regions avoided by most travelers. "They are responding to the distress call?" Viral asked. "It appears so," the analyst said. No one celebrated. Unidentified ships were still unknown ships. And unknown ships arriving during a crisis could mean many things. As the fleet drew closer, more data arrived. The ships were large, blocky, and layered with thick outer hulls. Their designs lacked the smooth curves common to most galactic vessels. They looked heavy, old, built to endure punishment rather than avoid it. "They are ugly," one counselor muttered. Sale nodded slowly. "They look like they were built to survive impact." A short transmission came through. The chamber went silent as it played. The signal was simple, no music. No ceremonial greeting, just a calm, clear voice. "This is the human fleet Resolute Path. We detected your distress signal. We are approaching to offer assistance." Silence followed. Several counselors exchanged confused looks. "Human," Viral repeated. "Search the archives." The analysts worked quickly. Databases scanned. Records were checked. Ancient surveys reviewed. After several long moments, the lead analyst turned back, uneasy. "There is no major record of a species called human," he said. "Only minor references in old exploration logs. Classified as Deathworld origin. Low contact. No formal alliances." The word Deathworld echoed through the chamber. Many species believed deathworlds were places where life barely survived, worlds filled with constant danger, extreme conditions, and endless struggle. Most intelligent life avoided them entirely. Then how did they reach space? A counselor asked. That data is unclear, the analyst said, but sensor readings suggest advanced propulsion, heavy shielding, and strong internal power systems. Another message arrived, this time with visual data. The image filled the air. Inside a human command deck, figures stood at stations. They were not towering monsters. They were smaller than some species, larger than others. 2 arms, 2 legs, forward-facing eyes. Their posture was relaxed but alert. They wore simple uniforms, no bright colors, no ceremonial displays. At the center stood a human officer. "We are moving to a defensive position near your outer colonies," he said. "Please transmit threat data and civilian locations." That was it, no demand, no claim of authority, just action. Viral slowly exhaled. They didn't ask for permission. Sale watched the fleet icons move on the map. The human ships spread out, forming a wide arc between the hostile approach vector and the Union's weakest systems. "They are placing themselves in the path," Sale said softly. A new alarm rang out. "Hostile fleet has entered the border region," an analyst announced. The council chamber erupted in nervous voices. "Can the humans retreat?" someone asked. "They are outnumbered." "They may not understand the danger," another said. But on the display, the human fleet did not slow. Instead, their formation tightened. Power readings increased. Shield layers came online, layer upon layer, stacked thick instead of wide. Sale felt something strange rise in his chest. It was not hope yet, but it was close. "They are not retreating," he said. The hostile fleet appeared on sensors, sleek, sharp vessels moving with cold precision. Their weapons charged as they closed the distance. The first shots were fired. Energy beams struck the lead human ship. The council gasped. The ship shook, but it did not break. Damage reports flashed. Outer armor was scarred. Shields dropped slightly, then stabilized. The human ship returned fire. Its weapons were not elegant. They were forceful, heavy, the kind designed to punch through defenses rather than slip around them. A hostile ship reeled under the impact. "Direct hit," an analyst said, disbelief in his voice. More fire followed. The humans advanced slowly, absorbing damage, holding position. Their ships worked together, overlapping defenses, covering each other without hesitation. "They are fighting like they expect to be hit," Sale whispered. A hostile vessel attempted to flank, but a human cruiser shifted, blocking the path, taking the attack directly to protect the Union's evacuation route. Civilians fled through the safe corridor behind them. For the first time since the invasion began, a system did not fall silent. Minutes stretched into hours. The hostile fleet withdrew, not defeated but delayed. The chamber was quiet. "They held them," Viral said softly. "They actually held them." A final message came from the human commander. "This is only the first contact," he said. "We will hold the line while you evacuate. More human units are on the way." Sale stared at the star map where human ships still stood between danger and safety. The distress call had not reached allies. It had reached something else, something forged by a harsh world. And as the stars flickered outside, the Cathari Union realized a truth that would soon spread across the galaxy. They did not know who would come to answer their call, but the Deathworlders had heard it. The space between the stars was no longer quiet. After the first clash, the Cathari Union worked without rest. Civilian ships moved through evacuation lanes. Stations powered down non-essential systems. Every screen inside the council chamber showed activity, warnings, and endless streams of data. And at the center of it all stood the human fleet. Counselor Sale watched them closely. Their ships remained in place, scarred but steady. Repair drones moved across damaged hulls like small insects, sealing wounds and reinforcing armor. The humans did not retreat after the battle. They stayed. "They should be regrouping," one counselor said nervously. "Any rational force would pull back." Sale shook his head slowly. "They do not seem to think like us." A new channel opened on the main display. A human officer appeared, different from the commander before. This one looked older, with lines on his face and calm eyes that had clearly seen long service. "This is Captain Aaron Hale," he said. "We request updated maps of hostile movement and confirmation of civilian evacuation progress." There was no fear in his voice, no tension, just focus. High speaker Viral answered. "Evacuations are ongoing. Your actions saved 3 outer colonies." Hale nodded once. "Good." Then we are on schedule. Several counselors exchanged worried looks. Schedule, one whispered. Sale leaned forward. Captain Hale, may I ask, how long do you intend to hold this position? Hale did not hesitate. As long as needed. The answer sent a ripple of unease through the chamber. The Cathari had never heard such a statement before. Most species measured conflict in acceptable losses and retreat points. Humans spoke in terms of endurance. Soon after, human shuttles began docking with Union stations. Medical teams, engineers, and security units disembarked. They moved quickly but without panic, helping alien civilians with practiced efficiency. Dr. Trell, a Cathari medical officer, observed a human medic treating injured refugees. The human worked with careful hands, adapting tools meant for a different species without complaint. You have treated Cathari before? Trell asked. The medic shook her head. First time. Then how? We learned on the way, the medic replied simply. Every body is different. You adjust. That answer stayed with Trell. Across the stations, similar scenes played out. Humans repaired power systems under radiation warnings that would have forced most species to withdraw. They worked in low gravity, high gravity, and unstable environments without slowing down. Reports flowed into the council chamber. Human engineers restored the eastern station in half the expected time. Human security teams repelled a boarding attempt with minimal casualties. They are asking for more difficult assignments, an analyst added quietly. Sale felt a strange mix of relief and unease. The hostile fleet did not stay idle. Within a cycle, enemy ships regrouped and launched a probing attack. This time, they targeted a human-held defensive cluster. The Council watched in silence as the battle unfolded. Enemy vessels struck with precision, testing shield patterns and weapon ranges. Human ships adjusted, learning with every exchange. When one vessel took heavy damage, two others moved into position without orders covering it while repairs were made. They respond faster than our simulations, an analyst said. Almost as if they expect failure and plan for it, Sale nodded. They plan for survival. As the battle ended, the humans once again held the line. Afterward, Captain Hale requested a private channel with the Council. You are seeing only a fraction of what is coming, Hale said. The hostile force is not here to negotiate. They will escalate. Viral's voice was tense. Then why are you here? You owe us nothing. Hale was quiet for a moment. Because we know what it means to stand alone, he said, and because if they learn this region is undefended, they will not stop here. Sale studied the human carefully. You speak as if you have faced this before. Hale allowed himself a small, tired smile. Human history is full of hard lessons. That was all he said. Later, Sale ordered a deeper study of human data. What he found unsettled him. Human homeworld conditions were extreme. Violent storms, heavy gravity, dangerous wildlife, scarce resources in early history, and constant internal conflict that had forced adaptation at every level. They should not exist, one analyst whispered. By all models, they should have failed. But they didn't, Sale replied. The answer lay in the numbers. Humans had built redundancy into everything, ships, systems, even social structures. Where others avoided risk, humans trained for it. Another alert sounded. Hostile fleet movement detected, the analyst announced. They are splitting into multiple attack groups. This time, the enemy bypassed human lines and targeted a distant evacuation convoy. Before the Council could react, human ships broke formation. They are leaving the defensive wall, Viral exclaimed. On the screen, human vessels accelerated hard, engines flaring beyond safe limits by Union standards. They will overheat, an engineer warned. They know, Sale said softly, and they are going anyway. The human fleet intercepted the attackers just moments before they reached the convoy. The battle was chaotic. Human ships maneuvered aggressively, placing themselves between enemy fire and civilian transports. One human frigate lost propulsion and drifted dangerously close to enemy lines. Ship disabled, an analyst reported. Crew still aboard. Sale held his breath. Instead of retreating, two human destroyers closed in, shielding the disabled ship with their own hulls. Repair crews worked in open space, exposed to hazards that would have forced evacuation for most species. They are risking everything for one ship, a counselor said in disbelief. They are risking it for the people behind that ship, Sale replied. The convoy escaped. The hostile force withdrew once again. Inside the council chamber, no one spoke for a long time. At last, Viral broke the silence. They are not like us. No, Sale agreed. They are shaped by something harsher. Another transmission arrived, this one from a human cultural officer. We understand that our presence may be unsettling, the officer said politely. We would like to share historical data so you can better understand us. Sale accepted the files. What he saw was not a record of conquest but survival, plagues overcome, disasters endured, rebuilding after near collapse. Again and again, humans had faced moments where everything seemed lost, and each time they adapted. They do not seek danger, Sale said quietly to Viral. They expect it. As the second cycle ended, the hostile fleet pulled back farther than before. Human sensors tracked them retreating to regroup. The Union had breathing room, but Sale knew the truth. This was not over. The enemy had tested the humans and learned, and the galaxy was beginning to learn something else as well. That beings born on cruel worlds do not fear hardship. They are trained by it. And as the stars watched in silence, the Deathworlders prepared for what would come next. The hostile fleet did not return immediately. That alone made the Cathari Union uneasy. For cycles, the enemy had attacked without pause, pushing forward with cold purpose. Now, after facing the humans twice, they pulled back. They gathered at the edge of sensor range, their ships forming dense clusters like dark storms waiting to break. Counselor Sale stood before the star map, his hands clasped behind his back. The red markers no longer advanced, but they did not fade either. They are watching, he said quietly. High Speaker Viral nodded. Predators do that before a larger strike. Human ships remained alert. Their patrols widened, sensors reaching farther than Union technology had ever managed. They shared data freely, explaining patterns and probabilities in calm, direct language. Captain Hale appeared again on the main display. They are preparing something bigger, he said. This pause is not retreat, it is planning. A younger counselor shifted nervously. Then why not attack them now? Hale shook his head. Because they want us to do that, they want to see how far we can reach. Sale studied the human commander's face. There was no fear there. Only careful thought. What do you expect? Sale asked. Hale paused before answering. They will try to break us in a way that sends a message. The meaning was clear. They would strike where it hurt most. The warning came sooner than expected. An alarm echoed across every station and ship. Multiple hostile fleets detected, the analyst announced. They are splitting across 3 vectors. One group is heading directly toward the human defensive line. The second is moving toward the Union core worlds. And the third? Viral asked. The analyst hesitated. The third group is accelerating toward a refugee transit hub, the chamber erupted. That hub holds thousands of civilians. It has minimal defenses. They will never reach it in time. Sale turned to the human display. Captain Hale was already issuing orders. Human ships broke formation, moving with sharp precision. But even with their speed, the distance was great. The hostile fleet knew this. They struck the human defensive line with overwhelming force. The first wave slammed into the humans like a crashing tide. Energy fire filled space. Sensors struggled to track the chaos. Human ships held formation. Again and again they absorbed the attack. Armor cracked, shields flickered, systems strained. They are taking too much damage, an engineer warned. No fleet can endure this. But the humans did not retreat. Sale noticed something else. They are not trying to win here, he said slowly. They are trying to delay. At the refugee hub, evacuation ships prepared for the worst. Civilians crowded into transports, fear spreading faster than any signal. Station Commander Iril watched the sensors in disbelief. They are minutes away, she whispered. Then new signals appeared. Human ships fewer in number, engines burning at unsafe levels. They won't make it, someone said, but the humans did something no one expected. They jumped early. The maneuver tore through space violently. Human ships arrived off target, scattered, damaged, but present. Directly between the hostile fleet and the refugees, the enemy did not hesitate. They opened fire at once. A human cruiser took the first strike. Its shields collapsed under the impact. Cruiser iron promised critically damaged, an analyst reported. Hull breach multiple sections. The ship drifted. Sale felt his chest tighten. They've lost it, a counselor said softly, but the iron promise did not go dark. Emergency power flared, internal bulkheads sealed. The ship rotated, placing its damaged side away from the refugees and its remaining weapons toward the enemy. It fired. Other human ships followed. They fought not in perfect formations, but in desperate, adaptive motion. Every move protected the evacuation path. Every loss was absorbed by another ship moving forward. One human frigate broke apart under sustained fire. Silence fell, then a message appeared on the screen. "Crew evacuated successfully," the human signal officer said calmly. "Rescue teams inbound." The ship had been sacrificed, but the people were not. Sale understood then. Humans did not measure victory in ships or territory. They measured it in lives saved. Back at the main front, the human defensive line finally began to bend. "Multiple human vessels reporting critical damage," an analyst said. "They are approaching failure limits." Captain Hale remained on screen, his voice steady. "All units hold positions," he ordered. "No withdrawal." Viral stared at him. "They will break." Hale met his gaze. "They will not." At that moment, something new appeared on the sensors. Additional human ships, not sleek or fast, but massive. "These are not combat cruisers," an analyst said, confused. "They are industrial vessels." The new arrivals moved slowly into the battle zone. Then they opened, panels unfolded, internal structures shifted, weapons powered on. "They converted them," Sale breathed. "They turned support ships into weapons platforms." The enemy fleet hesitated. That hesitation cost them. The new human vessels released a focused barrage, disrupting enemy coordination. The pressure on the defensive line eased, just enough. Human ships surged forward, reclaiming ground that had nearly been lost. At the refugee hub, the last transport jumped to safety. The humans remained behind, outnumbered, damaged, still standing. When the hostile fleet finally withdrew, it did so unevenly. Several ships failed to escape. Others limped away, formation broken. Across the Union, silence followed, then reports flooded in. "Refugee hub secured." "Evacuation complete." "Human casualties lower than projected." Sale sat down slowly. "They should have failed," he whispered. Viral nodded. "Any other force would have." Captain Hale appeared one last time. "The enemy has learned something today," he said. "So have you." Sale looked at him. "What did they learn?" Hale answered without pride. "That we do not break easily." The council chamber remained quiet long after the transmission ended. Outside, human crews repaired ships that should not have survived. They worked with tired movements, sharing tools, checking on one another, offering quiet words of encouragement. No celebration, no boasting, just preparation. Sale watched it all and understood. This moment would be remembered, not because the humans won a great victory, but because they held the line when logic said it would break. And in doing so, they showed the galaxy something new, that Deathworlders were not dangerous because they loved conflict. They were dangerous because they endured it. And the worst was still to come. The stars around the Cathari Union burned with tension. After the third major clash, silence spread across the region. The hostile fleet pulled back farther than ever before. For the first time since their arrival, they did not probe, test, or strike again. That silence did not bring comfort. Counselor Sale stood inside the observation chamber, watching human ships drift in slow repair orbits. Many were damaged. Some carried scars that would never fully fade, yet none had left. "They are waiting," Sale said. High Speaker Viral nodded. "So are we." Across the Union, the story of the humans had begun to spread. Traders whispered about ships that refused to retreat. Refugees spoke of calm voices guiding them through chaos. Military observers from distant powers quietly redirected sensors toward the conflict zone. The galaxy was watching now. Captain Hale appeared before the council once more. His uniform showed signs of long use. His eyes carried the weight of sleepless cycles. "The hostile force is gathering everything it has," he said. "This will be their final attempt to break through." Viral folded his hands. "Then they intend to end this." Hale nodded. "Yes. And they will choose a target that matters." The answer came moments later. An alert flared across every screen. "Hostile fleet mass detected," the analyst announced. "They are moving toward the Union capital system." The chamber froze. "That system holds our council world," Viral said. "Our archives, our population centers." "And your symbol," Hale added quietly. The hostile fleet was not subtle this time. They advanced in a single massive formation, their numbers greater than any force seen before. They wanted to be seen. "They mean to send a message," Sale said. Hale's expression hardened. "Then we will answer." Human ships moved at once. They did not form a thin line this time. Instead, they arranged themselves in deep layers, one behind another, creating a solid wall between the hostile fleet and the capital system. Union defense ships joined them, inspired by what they had seen before. They were fewer, lighter, but they held their place. Sale felt something he had never felt during war planning: confidence. The battle began without warning. The hostile fleet opened fire with everything it had. Space lit up with energy and force. The first human line absorbed the impact, shields straining, armor glowing under stress. "They will not hold," an observer from a distant empire whispered over a shared channel. But the humans did not rely on one line. When the first layer weakened, the second stepped forward. When the second was pressured, the third reinforced. Ships rotated in and out, damaged vessels retreating only long enough for repairs before returning. They planned this, Sale realized. Every movement, every loss. The enemy pushed harder. Several human ships were forced out of formation, drifting, broken. Each time, others filled the gap. Union ships followed their example, moving with more courage than skill but refusing to flee. At the center of the formation stood the human flagship, Resolute Path. It took the heaviest fire. Flagship shields at critical levels, an analyst warned. Hale remained calm on the screen. "Reroute power, hold position." A direct hit struck the flagship, systems flickered, gasps filled the chamber. "Flagship still operational," the analyst reported, stunned. Sale's voice was quiet. "They are showing the galaxy how they fight." As the battle raged, long-range sensors picked up something unexpected, multiple new signals. "They are not hostile," the analyst said. "They are observers." Distant fleets had arrived, neutral powers, cautious empires, watchers who had stayed silent before. They held back, recording everything. "They are judging," Viral said. The hostile fleet launched a final push. They focused all fire on one section of the human line, aiming to punch through and reach the capital world. Human ships surged to meet them. This was the moment where the line should have broken. Instead, something changed. Human vessels began broadcasting on open channels, not threats, not demands, messages, coordinates for civilian shelters, warnings to stay clear of combat zones, calm instructions to Union forces. "They are protecting even now," Sale whispered. Then the humans executed a maneuver no other species had attempted. They advanced. Damaged ships moved forward instead of retreating, using their remaining mass as barriers. Support vessels followed, reinforcing shields from behind. The hostile fleet hesitated. That hesitation was fatal. Union ships fired with everything they had. Human weapons struck key targets with precise force. The enemy formation fractured. One by one, hostile ships went dark or fled. At last, the hostile command vessel attempted to retreat. Human ships closed in. A final barrage disabled its engines. The hostile fleet scattered. Silence fell across the capital system. The observers did not leave. They transmitted. Messages spread across the galaxy, carried by traders, scouts, and diplomats. Humans held against overwhelming force. They protected civilians first. They did not retreat. In the council chamber, Sale felt the weight of history settle. Captain Hale appeared one final time. "The threat is broken," he said. "They will not return to this region." Viral bowed his head slightly. "You saved us." Hale shook his head. "We stood with you." Human ships began repairs, some prepared to depart. Others remained until every Union system was secure. The observers finally moved closer. Diplomatic requests arrived, formal greetings, questions, offers. The galaxy had seen enough. Sale watched the star map as red markers faded away. The Deathworlders had arrived as unknowns. They would leave as something else. Not conquerors, not rulers, but a force the galaxy could no longer ignore. And in the quiet after the storm, one truth became clear. When the galaxy finally looked at humanity, it saw not monsters from a harsh world, but guardians shaped by it. The battle was over, but the stars still seemed alive with echoes of what had happened. Across the Cathari Union, citizens came out of hiding. Civilian ships returned to damaged ports. Rescue crews worked tirelessly, but the memory of fear lingered in every eye, in every whispered conversation. For many, it was the first time they had seen true courage, something deeper than any training, sharper than any weapon. Counselor Sale walked through one of the evacuated cities, observing the human teams as they moved among alien citizens. Humans were everywhere. Engineers adjusted broken power lines. Medics treated minor injuries and exhaustion. Soldiers helped civilians carry food and water. Every action was quiet, efficient, and calm. Sale paused as he watched a group of children gathered near a human officer. The officer crouched to their level, pointing at a small star chart. "See these lights?" the officer asked. "Each one is a world. Everyone has people who matter, and we make sure they are safe." The children nodded, fascinated. For the first time, the words safety and hope seemed real to them. High Speaker Viral approached Sale quietly. "They do not speak of glory," Viral said, "or victory. Only of duty," Sale nodded. "It is strange, but it is powerful." Across the galaxy, observers and distant empires began to understand. News channels, diplomatic messages, and covert intelligence all confirmed the same thing. Humans, these Deathworlders, had fought against impossible odds and won, without arrogance, without cruelty, without self-interest. The first formal messages arrived from neighboring systems. Requests for communication, offers of alliances, invitations to meet with councils that had previously ignored the Cathari Union's calls for help. The galaxy had been silent when the Union called, but it now spoke when humanity acted. Captain Aaron Hale appeared before the Cathari Council one last time. His uniform was worn, his hands were steady, but his face showed the traces of long hours and many battles. "The threat is neutralized," Hale said. "We will remain as long as you need support. After that, we will return to our own regions." High Speaker Viral bowed slightly. "You have saved more than our cities, you have saved our people and perhaps our way of thinking." Hale shook his head. "We only did what we must. Every civilization will face danger. Every species has its trials. We have only chosen to endure ours." The word struck Sale. Endure. It was the same word the humans had lived by for generations. Every challenge on their homeworld had trained them for this moment. Every hardship, every storm, every predator that would have ended others had shaped them into something else entirely. For the first time, Sale felt a deep respect, not just for their courage, but for their philosophy. "They teach more than tactics," he said softly. "They teach survival as an art." As the human fleet began repairs, the Union engineers and leaders were given access to the humans, ship designs, weapon layouts, and strategies. It was unlike anything the galaxy had shared before. There were no secrets kept for advantage. No propaganda, just tools for survival. Counselor Sale lingered over one of the blueprints for a ship called a resilient cruiser. It was heavy, thick, and almost cumbersome by Cathari standards. But its armor and internal systems allowed it to absorb hits that would have destroyed other vessels. Its design was not elegant. It was built for endurance, not beauty. "They survive because they endure," Sale whispered. "Not because they flee, not because they strike first, but because they refuse to break." Days passed. The last of the refugees returned home. The final damaged stations were repaired. The galaxy had watched, recorded, and learned. Human crews prepared to leave the Cathari Union. They would return to their own space, their own battles, their own worlds. But they left a mark that could never be erased. Before departure, Captain Hale addressed the Union Council one final time. "Remember this," he said. "Civilizations are not measured by how well they avoid danger. They are measured by how they face it. Protect your people, learn from hardship. And when the galaxy seems silent, act. Someone will notice." High Speaker Viral inclined his head. "We will not forget. And we will pass this lesson forward." The humans boarded their ships. The fleet was a mix of battered vessels and fresh reinforcements. They left slowly, methodically, scanning the region one last time to ensure no threats remained. Then with a quiet hum, they jumped into hyperspace. As they disappeared from sensors, the galaxy remained in stunned silence. News began to spread faster than any fleet. Traders, diplomats, scouts, and even spies shared the same story. Humans, Deathworlders. They do not break. They protect without glory. They endure where others fall. Across the stars, other empires began to reconsider their assumptions. Some contacted the Cathari Union to propose alliances. Others quietly accelerated their own defensive projects, inspired by the lessons of the Deathworlders. For the Cathari, the effect was immediate. Their people looked to the future differently. Children spoke of humans with admiration. Leaders discussed strategies they had never considered. Scientists studied human technology. Every Union citizen knew that survival could be more than luck. It could be discipline, courage, and endurance. Counselor Sale walked through the capital one last time before the humans left. The city was quiet. Damage had been repaired. Civilians returned to routines. Yet everywhere he looked, he saw reminders of the fleet. Repaired drones modified from human designs, defense turrets modeled after human weapons, and uniforms copied from human medics. "They have changed everything," Sale said softly to Viral. "Yes," Viral replied. "Not by force, not by demand, by example." Even after the humans had vanished into hyperspace, their presence lingered. Reports from other systems confirmed the same pattern. Humans had intervened elsewhere, quietly, decisively, leaving no trail of conquest, only survival and hope. And in the Cathari Union archives, one record was made permanent. When the galaxy did not answer the call, the Deathworlders came. They did not seek glory. They did not demand reward. They stood where others would fall, and they endured. Every civilization should remember, courage is not measured by size, by firepower, or by wealth. It is measured by the willingness to stand when all else seems lost. Sale read the record one last time before leaving the chamber. Outside, the stars shone calmly, but he knew the galaxy had changed. Somewhere far beyond Cathari space, the humans would continue to live, to endure, and to teach that survival and courage were not mere words, they were action. And one day, when the galaxy faced its next threat, everyone would remember the Deathworlders and the lesson they brought. That the most dangerous beings are not those who seek war, but those who have survived the harshest worlds and refuse to be broken. The story of humanity had been written not with conquest, not with politics, and not with fear, but with endurance, courage, and unwavering action. And so the galaxy remembered.